Today we are going to learn how to draw a baby duckling by request. At the end of the show today, we will have a special song as well that I wrote that has educational facts about what we learned to draw today. If you have any requests or anything you would like to see, please let me know. You can leave it in the comments, and also I would love to see your drawings if you would like to leave those in the comments as well. Today, I am using a white colored pencil, a black colored pencil, and then 5 pencils I felt represented the traditional baby duck. But you can use any colors you would like to use, and you can also use black and white. I'm going to flip you around so I can show you the drawing. I did a preliminary sketch. So I'm going to flip you. There we go. All right, so this is the sketch I did of a baby duck. I did this just to lay out the image. When we start to draw an image, we want to do light lines to take over to encompass the entire image. So right now I'm going to go over those lines with you and help you to draw. Usually I start at the eye of any subject. So if you are drawing an animal or a person, after you sketch in light lines, it's good to use, it's good for me at least, to start with facial features. Maybe it's because I like faces so much. All right, so we're gonna draw these in a little bit darker, and then we will get to coloring. So I started here. And I'm going to teach you how to cross-hatch with colored pencils as well, because that is good for shading. So we're going to go over the beak like this. And we're going to go up around the head. And we're just going to look big picture here. So we're going to do an outline. And if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. I'm kind of nervous right now because I want to do a good job, and you're my first ever classroom. The good thing about light lines as well is that you can erase them very easily. So say I went, you know what, this line doesn't belong here. I can go like this, and I can redraw. Right now I am using an erasable colored pencil. But again, you can use markers or anything you would like. Another great way to work is if you draw circles. So we could do a light circle over a head, a light circle where the beak would go, and then light circles for the body cavity, for the wings, and for the legs and the feet. Again, this is just all for proportion. And you can take as much time as you would like on this. I'm going a little quickly just because of the episode length. All right. So let's look over and review what we have. Right now we have a beak, and I will go over that with you as we talk about them. We have the beak on the duckling. I'd like to think the duckling is smiling a little bit. And then if we measure it out, we go straight to the eye. And then here we have the head, and we have to look at the spacing between the eye and the beak, and then the eye and the rest of the head, because everything is all about spacing. what is the relation from the eye to the beak? Is the eye closer to the beak than it is to the top of the head? I would say so. And if you drew little lines, you would see that one line is much shorter than the other line. All right, I wish I could see how we are doing. And even with the feet, they can be circles. So the little leg here would be a smaller circle than the circle that you would put the foot in. I know that's not what it's called. What is it called? A flipper? Say ducks don't have feet, they have flippers. All right, so we have the layout of the duck intact. And remember, a duck is a living thing. Even though this is a flat page, a duck is a living thing. So everything that we're drawing has volume. With colored pencils, I usually go darkest first, minus a black colored pencil. I'll go closest to black. So this is a brown colored pencil, and what we're going to do is we're going to get some shading in. So with colored pencils, an amazing way to shade is called cross-hatching. Let me show you over here what I'm talking about. Cross-hatching is just little lines that help to shade, and then you come up the other way. And then you can get lighter. Getting lighter with a pencil means less pressure. So if I pressed down really hard, that shows up darker than if I was just going light and easy like that, right? Do you see a different effect? Does one have more color than the other? It all depends on what you're going for. So for this, with the duckling, I'm going very light and sort of easing into it. Just like this. And a duck is kind of fluffy, right? So it's okay if these aren't perfect lines because they're fuzzy. They just came out of the egg. They're bopping around. They're checking things out. They're looking for their mom. They're swimming around with their parents. So we're doing some light cross-hatching on parts of the duck that have more definition and more shading. And the shading is all going to depend on where the light source is coming from. So I'm shading in accordance with the photo that I'm looking off of because the light is hitting that duckling in a different way. I'm going to do a little cross-hatching for his little cheek. He's got a cute little chubby cheek. We're going to darken the eye because usually eyes require a lot of definition. And what does that mean? It means that facial features are important, whether it's an animal or a person. And a lot of times it's really good to make those stand out because they are unique. It's kind of like when you meet a new person. Typically, what's the first thing you would notice about a new person? Would it be their smile? Would it be their eyes? Or would it be the gum that was stuck under their shoe? I guess it all depends. But usually, faces are a safe bet, and it's how we identify objects and people in our world. Now this duck has a little nostril. And because the nostril goes deeper than the rest of the duck, or the rest of the beak, it's going to have a darker value. So we're going to darken that a little bit more than we will the rest of the beak. And then we're going to darken the bottom part of the duck's mouth, because the bottom part is underneath the top part. So do you think it requires more shading? Yes. It requires more shading because it is being covered up by the top part of the beak. Now, we're going to cross hatch a little bit underneath the duckling's head. Now with the under part of the duckling's beak, the bottom part, it's darker than the top part, correct? And why is that? It's because this part of the beak is not receiving as much light because it is being obscured by the top part of the beak. So what do you think happens to the duck's neck in a lot of situations? Well, because the head is up top and it's receiving the most light, the neck is going to be a little bit darker. It's going to be shaded a little bit darker because the value will be darker. There is not as much light hitting the neck of the duck. So we are going to shade that a little bit darker than the rest of this guy. And again, remember, ducklings are very fluffy. So we can be a little bit messy with our cross hatching. And again, cross hatching are just light lines that you lay on top of one line. You go over and lay on top of the other so that it creates a blended effect. I'm going to jump back up to the eye here and darken that in a little bit. And if you would like to see a different animal next week, you can have your mom or dad leave it in the comments. Or if you're 18 or older, you could also leave it in the comments because this can be for everybody. It's okay to want to learn a new skill at any age. So we're darkening the body a little bit just to show volume. Because if you picked up a duckling, it wouldn't be flat, right? Like this paper, it would have volume. It would be round and fluffy. So in order to communicate that, to show that on a piece of paper, shading is what we do to show volume. And it looks like right here as well, underneath the wings, it's a little bit darker with the shading. And again, why is that? It's because the feathers and the fluff underneath the wing are not receiving as much light. So it creates a shadow. Let's go to the other side of the duck. Kara, yes I was, trying to ignore comments. But that one got me. All right, and again, underneath this little duck leggy right here, we're gonna go a little darker for the same reason as why we went darker under the neck and darker under the wing, because there isn't as much light there. And if light can't get in, what does it look like? Dark. It looks like it is dark. And we're going to get under the belly right here too. All right, and now we're going to get down to the flippers because we mean business. And it looks like with the flippers, the way that we're going to shade this, it looks like there's some shadow in between the flippers. And the reason is with these, with the feet here, which are kind of like fingers, like little appendages. So with the feet here, or toes, we'll call them toes. So with the toes here, these are raised, and there's a flat part here that's in between the toe. So to show that distance, to show that this part of the flipper is more flat than these raised toes, this is going to become darker and it will look 3D. So when we go back and color in these toes, this is going to be lighter here. And this is darker. Let's go to the other one. And this is a little darker up here because it's not getting as much light. It's being shaded by his little ham bone right there. He's receiving shade. The leg's receiving shade from the little ham bone, his little thigh bone, which is so cute. So adorable. A very cool kid I know named Bexley Edwards chose the piece that we're focusing on today. If you would like to see something else drawn, please message me in the comments. All right, now it's time for a little bit of color. I'm choosing this red colored pencil. Just very quickly, we're going to go around and start blending. Usually with this process, I'll start with a darker color to get some shading, and then I'll go to the closest color up from it. So if we have brown, and if we have red, and if we have yellow, which is it, yellow or red, that is closer to the brown, just in how dark the color is? The answer is red. So we're going to go with red for a moment. We're going to add in what we were sketching. And then, because this beak on the duckling is kind of rounded at the end, isn't it? It's kind of curved. So do you think that we would draw straight lines to shade on a curve? No. We would do curved lines to shade inside a curved object. So let's do that on the beak right now. And just they're kind of like almost like half circles. And then I'm taking them all the way up the beak. Just like that. And then where the beak connects to the rest of the ducky's face, where there's fluff and feathers and the beak is smooth, this is going to be a darker area. There's going to be more contrast here. What is contrast? It's the difference between light and dark. So if this is very dark, this can end up being light, and that's contrast. Now, what if I did this and I said, you know what, that's too dark. How would I lighten the contrast? How would I brighten it? Well, with these colored pencils, I would take my eraser and I would just lightly go over the area to where that looked a little brighter. Depending on what you're coloring with, what you're working with, it's easier to do that with some art tools than others. All right. And I'm going to get a little bit of red into the ducky's neckline here, but really, there's not too much red that you see on a baby duckling, right? So, we're going to switch to a different color. Which color is closest to the red? Is it the yellow or is it the orange? It's the orange. So that is what we're going to use next. And we're going to start making just broad, big lines here. And we're going to put some color in that beak because a duckling's beak is mostly orange. I don't know why I'm talking that way. All right. We're going to get some little shading on his cheekies here. And on the head. All right, and we're going to do some more shading on the top of the ducky's chest and under his chin, because that is where the light isn't hitting as strongly, so it's not going to be as bright. So we're going to blend the orange on top of the red and the brown that's already there. And so if we're making lines this way, we can come back to the other side and cross them over, so it kind of looks like a checkerboard. And that allows you to create volume on a 2D piece of paper. So that looks like the duck is just popping off the paper. All right, we're going to fill in a little bit of fluff on his tummy. Head back up to the head because I missed some stuff up there. And remember, shadowing and shading is so important to really make a drawing come to life. It allows depth of an object. And so instead of something looking flat, take this circle, right? That looks like a flat circle. But if you have a circle like this and you sort of shade it, and then maybe you add a different color, all of a sudden, this comes alive in comparison to just this circle. All right, let's get some orange down on these toes, these flippers. Great. I'm going to do that here. Wonderful. And again, the back parts and the parts of the leg that are underneath the duckling are going to have a value that is a little bit darker than the rest. And what is next? From yellow, or from orange, we're going to go up a color, and we have yellow and we have brown. What is the lighter color closest to orange? It's yellow. So we're going to use yellow. And we're going to color in the majority of the duckling. And we can literally just go over, if you're using colored pencils, you can go over everything because it'll look really, really nice when it blends. On the areas that are darker that we started to shade, you can press down a little more. If you have a yellow colored pencil, you can press down a little more over those areas to really bring out the color of those areas. We're going to add a little bit of yellow to his beak. Awesome. And then again, with under his neck, we can just do big lines to darken over everything that we have colored so far. It's not going to ruin anything. And see, and it can look messy, and that's okay. And even with larger lines, we can crosshatch. So if I'm going this way with my coloring, I can come back around and I can draw lines the opposite way. And that will help with shading, and that will help with volume. All right, it looks like we're about to wrap up here. So it is time to sing a song about what we learned today. Drawing a baby duckling, we are going to learn some fun facts about the baby duckling and all ducklings. So give me a second, I'm going to flip around. Hi everyone! I hope everyone had a good time drawing a duckling today. We're going to learn some fun educational facts about a duckling in a song that I wrote about ducks. Are you ready? A baby duck is called a duckling. A boy duck is called a drake. A girl duck is called a hen, like a chicken, for goodness sake. A group of ducks is called a raft or a team, and a mallard duck, when he grows up, he has a head that's green. A mallard has a head that's green. Mother ducks build nests for their eggs, made of grass and mud and twigs. Sometimes they use leaves and plants. Baby ducks do not wear pants. Ducks can eat seeds and fruit. I don't know if ducklings toot. Ducks can eat bugs and fishies. Wonder if those bugs taste squishy. A baby duck is called a duckling. A boy duck is called a drake. A girl duck is called a hen, like a chicken, for goodness sake. A baby duck is called a duckling. A boy duck is called a drake. A girl duck is called a hen, like a chicken, for goodness sake. Ducks have feathers that shed water, water. Even when diving, their skin is always dry. A baby duck is called a duckling. A boy duck is called a drake. A girl duck is called a hen, like a chicken, for goodness sake. A baby duck is called a duckling. A boy duck is called a drake. A girl duck is called a hen, like a chicken, for goodness sake. I'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.